The champagne flute trembled in my hand as I watched my son take the microphone at his wedding reception. From my seat at table 8, strategically placed behind a decorative pillar, I had a partially obstructed view of the head table where Brandon stood in his perfectly tailored tuxedo, his new bride Jessica beaming beside him. Before we continue with dinner, Brandon began, his voice carrying through the elegant ballroom. I want to take a moment to thank the woman who made me who I am today. My heart swelled. After everything we've been through, maybe this was the moment he'd finally acknowledge. Diana, would you please stand up? I watched his stepmother rise gracefully from table 1, her designer dress catching the light from the chandeliers. She'd been his father's wife for exactly 4 years. 4 years out of Brandon's 26 years of life. This amazing woman, Brandon continued, his voice thick with emotion, taught me what real strength looks like. She showed me how to carry myself in the business world, how to demand excellence, and how to never settle for mediocrity. Diana, you're the mother I always needed. Thank you for raising me to be the man I am today. The words hit me like physical blows, each syllable carefully chosen, each pause perfectly timed. I sat frozen at table 8, while 200 wedding guests erupted in applause. My sister Margaret, seated beside me, grabbed my hand under the table, her grip tight with shared indignation. But Brandon wasn't finished. Oh no, my son had more to say. I know I wouldn't be standing here today, successful and happy, without the guidance of the woman who raised me. He raised his champagne glass toward Diana. To the best mom a guy could ask for. To Diana. The crowd echoed. I smiled. Years of practice had taught me how to curve my lips upward while my heart shattered. I raised my glass with everyone else, took a small sip, and quietly placed my napkin on my plate. Margaret whispered urgently in my ear, but I shook my head. I need some air, I murmured, standing as gracefully as my shaking legs would allow. I made it through the ballroom doors before the tears came. 26 years. 26 years of 3 a.m. feedings, of staying up all night when he had the flu, of driving him to hockey practice at dawn every Saturday. 26 years of helping with homework, attending every game, every concert, every parent-teacher conference. I thought about the nights I'd spent at the kitchen table, going over college applications with him. The way I'd worked double shifts at the hospital to pay for his tutors when he struggled with calculus. The day I'd held him while he sobbed after his first girlfriend broke his heart. Diana had been there for none of it. The valet brought my car, and I drove home in silence, my phone buzzing incessantly in my purse. I knew it would be Margaret, probably my mother, maybe even some of the family friends who'd witnessed my humiliation. I ignored them all. At home, I poured myself a glass of wine, good wine, from the bottle I'd been saving for a special occasion, and sat down at my computer. The trust fund documents were exactly where I'd filed them years ago, properly organized in both digital and physical copies. Brandon's grandfather, my father, had established the trust when Brandon was born, naming me as the sole trustee with complete discretionary power over distributions. The trust currently held $1.2 million. My fingers hovered over the keyboard as I logged into the trust management portal. For 26 years, I carefully managed this money, investing it wisely, watching it grow, planning to give Brandon the perfect start to his married life. The plan had been to transfer control to him as a wedding gift, along with a substantial distribution for a house down payment. But Diana had raised him, hadn't she? Diana had made him the man he was today. I made several phone calls that night, first to the trust attorney, confirming my absolute right as trustee to freeze all distributions indefinitely. Then to my financial advisor, initiating a complete review of the trust's investment strategy, a process that would legally prevent any distributions for at least 6 months. The next morning came faster than expected. I was enjoying my coffee on the back patio, watching the sunrise, when my phone exploded with calls. Richard's number appeared first, then Brandon's, then unknown numbers I assumed were wedding vendors. I let them all go to voicemail. At 9:47 a.m., Richard's car screeched into my driveway. My ex-husband looked disheveled, his hair uncombed, his shirt partially untucked. This was not the polished executive image he usually presented. "What did you do?" he demanded, not even bothering with a greeting as I opened the door. "Good morning to you too, Richard. Rough night? How was the wedding?" "Cut the crap, Monica. The trust fund is frozen. The check I wrote for the catering bounced. The honeymoon package is being canceled. What the hell did you do? I stepped aside to let him in, mainly because I didn't want the neighbors to witness his meltdown. Would you like coffee? You look like you could use some. I don't want coffee. I want to know why you sabotaged our son's wedding. Our son. I laughed, the sound bitter even to my own ears. I thought Diana raised him. Isn't that what he announced to everyone last night? Richard's face went through several shades of red. You're being petty. He was just thanking Diana for raising him. Yes, I heard. From table 8. I moved to the kitchen, pouring myself another cup of coffee with steady hands. Tell me, Richard, where was Diana when Brandon had chicken pox? When he broke his arm falling off his bike? When he needed 3 hours of help with his science fair project? That's not the point. Oh, but it is the point. Brandon made it very clear last night that Diana is the woman who raised him, who made him who he is today. So naturally, I assumed she'd be handling his financial needs as well. The trust fund is his money. Actually, I said calmly, it's not. The trust fund is under my complete control as trustee. My father made sure of that. I have absolute discretion over when and how distributions are made, or if they're made at all. Richard sank into one of my kitchen chairs, his anger deflating into panic. Monica, the wedding vendors are calling. We're going to be sued. Brandon and Jessica are supposed to leave for Bora Bora tomorrow. Then I suggest you figure it out. After all, Diana raised him to be successful, didn't she? I'm sure between the 3 of you, you can handle a few bills. A few bills? The outstanding balance is over $70,000. I nearly choked on my coffee. $70,000. For a wedding? Diana planned it, he admitted reluctantly. She said Brandon deserved the best. Of course she did. With my father's money. My phone rang. Brandon's picture appeared on the screen, a photo from his high school graduation, where he was hugging me, both of us laughing. I let it go to voicemail. Monica, please, Richard's voice had shifted to pleading. This is Brandon's wedding. Don't ruin it because your feelings were hurt. My feelings? I set down my coffee cup harder than necessary. You think this is about my feelings? For 26 years, I've put Brandon first. Every decision, every sacrifice, every moment of my life revolved around being his mother. And last night, in front of every important person in our lives, he erased all of that. He didn't mean. He looked me in the eye when he walked past table 8 to greet guests. He knew exactly where I was sitting. He knew what he was doing. Richard's phone buzzed. He glanced at it and paled. The venue is threatening to call the police if we don't settle the bill immediately. Then you better transfer some money from your accounts, or ask Diana. After all, she's the one who raised him. You know I can't cover $70,000 overnight. Then maybe you shouldn't have let Diana plan a wedding you couldn't afford without stealing from my father's trust. Richard stood abruptly, his chair scraping against the floor. This is cruel, Monica. You're punishing Brandon for a few poorly chosen words. Poorly chosen. I laughed again. No, Richard. Those words were carefully selected. Brandon's always been articulate. I made sure of that with the best schools and tutors money could buy. He knew exactly what he was saying. After Richard left, slamming my door hard enough to rattle the windows, I sat in the quiet of my kitchen. My phone showed 37 missed calls. The voicemail box was full. I thought about Brandon as a little boy, the way he'd curl up next to me on the couch for story time. The teenager who'd still give me quick hugs when his friends weren't looking. The young man who'd called me crying after his first job rejection. When had I lost him? When had Diana's influence, her promises of connections, her flashy lifestyle, her surface-level involvement, become more valuable than 26 years of actual motherhood? The answer came with my doorbell. At 2 p.m. Brandon stood on my porch, still in his wedding clothes from the night before, looking haggard. Jessica was nowhere to be seen. Mom, he started, and I almost broke. It had been so long since he'd called me that. Can we talk? I let him in. What else could I do? Despite everything, he was still my son. He sat in the same chair his father had occupied hours earlier. The trust fund is frozen pending a complete review of the investment strategy. It's my fiduciary duty as trustee to ensure the funds are being managed properly. Mom, please. Jessica's parents are furious. The vendors are threatening to sue. Our honeymoon. Your honeymoon? I interrupted. Shouldn't you be discussing this with Diana? After all, she's the woman who raised you. Brandon had the grace to flinch. I didn't mean it the way it sounded. Really? Because it sounded like you were erasing 26 years of my life. It sounded like you were giving credit for your success to a woman who's been in your life for 4 years. Diana's been good to me, and I haven't. That's not what I meant. He ran his hands through his hair, messing up the carefully styled look. Diana understands the business world. She has connections. Connections, I repeated. Is that what makes a mother? Connections. You wouldn't understand. You're right, I cut him off. I wouldn't understand. I was too busy working night shifts to pay for your hockey equipment to develop business connections. Too focused on helping you with homework to network at country clubs. Too concerned with raising you to worry about climbing social ladders. That's not fair. Fair? I stood unable to sit still any longer. Was it fair when I missed my promotion opportunity because I couldn't travel while you were dealing with teenage depression? Was it fair when I spent my retirement savings on your undergraduate degree so you wouldn't have loans? Was it fair when I sat at table 8 last night? Brandon was crying now, silent tears rolling down his cheeks. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I don't know why I said it. Diana had been coaching me on the speech, and she suggested. Stop. I held up my hand. Don't blame Diana. You're 26 years old. You made a choice. What do you want me to do? How do I fix this? I looked at my son, really looked at him. When had he become this person who valued appearances over authenticity, who could so easily dismiss the woman who'd given everything for him? I don't know if he can, I said honestly. The trust fund will remain frozen until I decide otherwise. Your grandfather gave me that authority because he trusted my judgment. Right now, my judgment says you're not ready for that responsibility. But the wedding, the vendors, are your father and Diana's problem. After all, she planned it. She can figure out how to pay for it. Brandon left shortly after, his shoulders slumped in defeat. I watched from my window as he sat in his car for 10 minutes before driving away. The calls continued for days. Family members who'd been at the wedding reached out, some supportive, others critical of my harsh response. I ignored most of them. Margaret came by daily, bringing wine and righteous indignation in equal measure. You should have seen Diana's face when the catering manager interrupted the reception. She told me on day 3. Apparently, the check bounced while they were serving dessert. They actually stopped bringing out the wedding cake. I felt a twinge of sympathy for Jessica. None of this was her fault. 2 weeks later, Brandon called again. This time, his voice was different. Subdued. Thoughtful. Mom, can we have lunch? Just the 2 of us? I agreed, choosing a quiet restaurant where we used to go when he was in high school. He looked older somehow, the past 2 weeks having aged him visibly. I've been thinking, he began after we ordered, about everything you did for me, everything I took for granted. I waited, not making it easy for him. Diana and Dad, they couldn't cover the wedding bills. We had to take out a loan. Jessica's parents paid for the honeymoon so we wouldn't lose it entirely. He laughed bitterly. Diana suddenly had a lot less advice once she had to actually deal with the consequences. I hurt you, he continued, not just at the wedding. For years, I've been hurting you, choosing them over you, acting like what you did didn't matter because it wasn't flashy or impressive to my friends. Why? I asked simply. Brandon was quiet for a long moment. Because it was easier, he finally admitted. It was easier to impress people by talking about Diana's connections than explaining that my real mom worked double shifts as a nurse. It was easier to brag about Dad's business than to talk about how you stayed up all night helping me study. I was ashamed, and that shame made me cruel. The honesty was brutal, but I appreciated it. I don't expect you to forgive me, he said. I don't expect you to unfreeze the trust fund. I needed you to know that I know who really raised me. I know who sacrificed everything for me, and I'm sorry I let you sit at table 8. I reached across the table and took his hand. I love you, Brandon. I've loved you since the moment I first held you. That will never change. But trust, respect, those have to be earned back. I understand. I want to earn them back. It took time, months of regular lunches, of real conversations, of Brandon learning to see me as a person and not just a resource. Diana's influence faded quickly once the money dried up. She and Richard divorced within 18 months, the relationship crumbling without my father's trust fund to prop it up. I eventually unfroze the trust, but with new conditions. Distributions would be made gradually, tied to Brandon demonstrating financial responsibility and maintaining a genuine relationship with me. He agreed without complaint. At Jessica's baby shower 2 years later, Brandon stood to speak. This time, I was at table 1, right beside him. Before we start, he said, his voice steady, "I want to thank my mom. My real mom. The woman who actually raised me, who sacrificed everything for me, who loved me even when I didn't deserve it. Mom, you're the reason I know how to be a parent. Thank you for never giving up on me." This time, my tears were happy ones. The trust fund? It's still there, growing and waiting. But now it's not the most valuable thing I'm leaving my son. That would be the lesson he learned. That love isn't measured in connections or flash or public recognition. It's measured in presence, in sacrifice, in showing up every single day, even when you're relegated to table 8. Especially then.